Hi there and welcome to another Middle-earth Play-by-Mail fan channel episode. What I'm wanting to do in this episode is just do another basic, something that's good for new players or people thinking about playing the game, and that's just to take you through the layout of a standard turn sheet. What I've got here is a turn sheet from a game I've played in the past, game 73, which finished early in 2020. And this is turn 15 for one of the positions I held in this game, which was the Quiet Avenger, which is denoted by number 17. Now, all of the different variants of the game give this turn sheet. This is the main information you have of how your position is constituted and what threats it's being faced, and it's from this turn sheet that you will decide what orders to give to your characters, and then when it's processed you get another turn sheet, and so it continues like that. So starting off, looking at the front page, obviously it says who the game, which game number it is, and which position you're holding. It gives you the due date for when you need to have your next turn in by. And then there's just a few general nation information bits and pieces at the front. There's the current number of victory points you're on. I will do an item about victory points in another video. It tells you the top 3 nations for victory points on your side, which gives you a feel for how things are going overall. Some of your special nation abilities, so Quiet Avenger here, for example, can name new emissaries at rank 40, which is kind of useful. And then just a little bit about your name, your player code with Middle-earth Games, should you need to get in touch with them for any reason. But then moving straight on into the actual guts of what's going on. It's first of all at the top here it says what the season is. So at this point the season is winter. The season tends to follow the actual real world seasons in the northern hemisphere. So if I just scroll back up, you can see this due date for the next turn was February the 5th, so this turn would have come out in late January 2019. So we're in the season of winter. Seasons are important because they affect the climate conditions, which have various effects in terms of outcomes of battles and also production. Straight underneath the season we have relations with other nations. Unless you're playing a neutral nation where you start out as neutral with everyone, these will start out as disliked if they're on the opposite side, or tolerated if they're on your side, and you can move them up or down depending on how you want to relate to other nations as the game goes on. We then have a listing of all the different population centres that you have, whether they're camps like Ampano here, a newly built camp I put up, or scrolling through you could have a major town with a castle like the capital, Le Gallure there, and also for each population centre it gives you their loyalty. That will go up or down a little bit according to what events happen, their fortifications, whether they've got a harbour or not, a few other points like whether they're magically hidden or sieged. Most of the time they won't be. And then the production that you get from of goods, both what's being produced and what you have in stores. And so you can just look at that population centre by population centre should you wish. Now once you've gone through all the settlements you then have a listing of all the armies and navies. So here we have Army Commander Lord Adunafel. You're given the morale of the army. Whether it has any warships or transports, none of these have, because I think all of my warships and transports have been sunk by this point in the game. And in brackets is how many transports an army of this size would require if you wanted to go to sea. It then lists through each type of troop you have, giving you their training, their weapons, skill, the quality of their armour, number of troops and the type of troop. This can all be very useful, and I'll need to do at least one, if not several, videos looking at armies, how to make your armies more effective, how to work out how strong your armies are. But the information for feeding into that and various resources that exist to help you calculate the strength of your armies, you can get all of that base data from the armies and navies page. Also it does say which characters are travelling with the army, so as well as there being Lord Adunafel in this army, there is also the Commander Herumor. This is useful to know because it means that there is a backup commander. Whenever you're on a population center of another nation, or you're opposing an army of another nation, that will come up in bold. So you can see here we've come up against a camp belonging to the Easterlings. So next turn we've got to decide what we do against that camp. Right, scrolling down, just under the armies and navies bit, there'll be information about any companies that you hold, of which you have a company commander. At this point in the game I didn't. And then we come on to the economics page, which begins with market prices and then looks at the amount of gold you've got coming in and also your products and stores. So we can see here, this is the market for everyone in the game. You can see what resources are available along here. So there's only 2,255 units of food on the market. And then we can see the buy price and sell price if we're wanting to go to market and either offload some extra goods that we have to raise cash, or to buy up some goods if we want to use those to equip our armies or build fortifications or whatever it may be. We have a quick summary of the costs that we have. So here you can see that I don't have much by way of costs for my armies or population centres, but there's quite a lot of costs of mine. So 21,000 out of 35,000. So there's quite a lot of my costs, probably about 60%, all bound up in the characters that I have. Next we have the tax rate. I will need to do a program just about tax rate and strategy for tax rate, so look out for that one in the coming weeks. And that tax rate, which is applied to the tax base from all the cities, major towns, villages that we scrolled past at the top of the turn sheet, gives expected revenue along with any gold that's being extracted from gold mines. We can see here that my expected revenue is only 21,000, which if you take that maintenance costs here away from that means that I'm 14,000 in deficit and my gold reserve is 3,765. Now that puts me in a bit of a fix because obviously I don't have enough gold in reserve to cover that. So what can I do? Well, let's have a look at the other side over here, and I do have some product in reserve as a nation. Now, in the turn order, production, which is this column here, happens before you sell things to market. So if I decide I want to sell all my steel, the stores I will have next turn won't be 0, but it will be 0 plus 556. So I'll be able to, if I sell all of steel, I'll have 2 gold per unit, so 2 times 556, and that will help me there. As you can see, I've probably got to sell quite a lot of products in order to cover that 14k deficit, but given that this game went on until around about turn 47, I must have survived somehow. Just continuing further on, if you have ships anchored in the location, that'll be mentioned there. If you have any double agents or hostages, that's mentioned there. There's then a listing of the artifacts, and the main powers which they have. Coming through the nation messages section now, here's a section where you get various messages of what's happened during the last turn in turn 15. Often you can pick up rumours of agent actions, or you can pick up rumours of battles, or you can pick up rumours of encounters that have happened. Now, if you're just one nation out of 25, you won't get that much information from this, but this is where working as a team and everyone sharing their turns is really useful, because my knowing that there was an assassination attempt involving Gontran and Nazog may not be of much use to me, but someone else on the team, it might be really relevant for them. No encounter messages. Then we have combat messages. So I was involved in a battle at 3538, which is the hot climate of the desert wastes, and you can read all of that through. Normally when I look at a battle report, the main bits I'll look at are what are the size of the troops. So on my side there were 1900 troll foot soldiers, so that's heavy infantry. They're pretty poor troops, they've only got wooden weapons and they haven't really got much armour. and they were up against a highly energetic army. That means quite a high morale army under Captain Huz of Amov of the Nation of the Easterlings. At this point in the game, I was having a bit of a fight with the Easterlings, and their troops included 179 mixed Easterling chariotmen, so that's heavy cavalry, 209 light cavalry, and 300 footmen. And they're smaller in numbers, but they've got reasonably good weapons, and the formation here, exemplary, solid ranks, a mob, and so forth. That's a code for how well trained they are. So they've got a small amount of reasonably good cavalry and a little bit of hastily thrown together heavy infantry. And also there is the town of Ankaragmir flying the flag of the Easterlings. And then there's a report here of what happened within the battle. And normally you can just skip to the last paragraph and you can find out Adunafel's forces were victorious. Hooray, that's my team, so they won. Adunafel survived, which is also good. Huz of Amov's forces were destroyed, routed in the battle. I will do a section on battles and how they are calculated and some of the outcomes. Especially good with this one, Huz of Amov was killed. So not only did I defeat their force, I also killed one of their starting commanders. So that's a good result. And it then goes on. We then went on to attack the town which is there, and it says the town has been reduced to a village. The village has been under siege stroke attack this turn, and it now flies the flag of the Quiet Avenger. So that was a good battle outcome for me. My troops wiped out the opponent's troops, and the commander was killed, and the opposing town has been captured. That's mine now. I can have its goods and I can levy tax on it. So that's a good outcome. We then have a summary of the orders that were put in. This can be useful as a good way of checking back. Sometimes an order might not have worked out as you thought, and you can go back and see whether you actually input the order in the way that you thought you were going to be doing. Also, sometimes when you're looking at the turn sheets of allies, sometimes the best way to find out what their characters have been doing are just to go and have a look at the orders. After this, we come on to a section for each character. So Adunafel, who was the lead commander in that battle, you can see that she was ordered to capture the town of Ankaragmir. See combat messages. So if we were to scroll back up to the combat messages, we could go through the outcome of that battle. A little bit of information there. She was ordered to move the army. She accepted the army movement orders, and she has now left. She started at 3538 here, and she now commands an army in the desert wastes at 3339 in the camp of Sandyland, flying the flag of the Easterlings. So we've just taken a town off the Easterlings, that's ours, and now we're on an undefended camp. Good, that's how it should be. And you can just scroll through the other characters there. Just to point out, the characters which have a full colour piece of art are usually starting characters, certainly in this 1650 edition, whereas the sort of black and white pen drawing lines are newly named characters. So you can scroll through all these characters, see what they're doing. I normally start, when I'm looking at the outcome of my turn and analysing it, I jump to the character section and read what they've done, and then I go and I just track and I keep a record of how their skills have changed turn by turn, so I can see how the characters are progressing in their skills. So go past all the characters, and finally you get to the map section. This is the nation map for the Quiet Avenger, so that's fixed way deep in the south of the board for Middle-earth. And you can see, you can just see Pelagir and North Gondor there, and there you've got Northern Harad, then you've got the big river running through there, River Harnan, and to the south of which I can see we've got a couple of shiny free peoples. That's Harad, they went good. So the free peoples are there, and here we've got the Dark Servants of my own, and we've got Adunafel on that camp down there. You can also get a few extra things coming through here. If you've got a major town, sometimes that will give you just a little map around that major town. If you scout an area, or you cast a scrying spell, or use a palantir, that information will also come up in the extra maps section. So that's going all the way through a turn sheet. The order in which it comes out is fixed every turn. You'll soon get used to them, and it's great fun in the 2-week period you have between receiving your turn sheet and submitting your next orders, just poring over the details, having a look at the loyalties of the different towns you have, having a look at the strengths of the armies, how's your production doing, how's the economy doing, what's happening on the map, what's happening with your characters. There's a lot of detail in there, and to become a better player, it's all about being able to focus on those small details. Well, I hope that's given you a good idea of how a turn sheet is laid out and the sort of information you will be getting turn by turn during Middle-earth Play by Mail. I hope you found this useful and interesting. Do tune in next time we have another video out. Until then, goodbye.